Great.
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for joining me for this session about Microsoft Teams governance and how we can leverage the Power Platform to rule the collaborative workspace and to automate everything. So a little bit about myself before we go deep dive to the session. I'm from France. I work at UpCollab. It's a little company focusing on automating everything. My area of expertise is more about Microsoft Teams and the collaboration workspace inside Microsoft 365 and how we can build some new experience for customer and for users around the synergy between Power Platform and Microsoft Teams. You can follow me on social media and also on my blog. It's almost all blog posts are in French, but you can even follow. So the agenda for this session is simple. First, we're gonna talk about why do we need to govern teams, what is the real needs behind this, and how it works in 3 simple steps. And after that, I will show you a demo working on the Power Platform and fully integrated inside Microsoft 365. So first of all, I'm sure everyone is already aware that Microsoft Teams is the hub for the collaboration. We can make a lot of things inside Teams, but too often Teams is reduced to the meeting and the call. And Teams can be so much more. We can create new way of work. We can improve the business process and create new business solution within Teams. And because it's Teams, it's built with the other workload of Microsoft Cloud, and it's leveraging the security, the compliance, and of course, the Power Platform capabilities. And Microsoft Teams is a hub, but it's also a gateway. With Microsoft Teams, we have a lot of capabilities to extend the potential of Microsoft Teams through Power Platform and also through some connectors and some other third-party solution. So it can be a very good start to use Teams and to extend it to some external solution or some other internal workload. Before we talk about governance, we have to talk about Microsoft 365 groups. It's often an aspect of the Microsoft 365 space forgotten by too many people. Microsoft 365 groups is the key to understand Microsoft Teams governance, because for every team there is a groups. And when a user, for example, an end user, creates a team or creates an Outlook groups or a new team site SharePoint, in the backend, it will automatically create a groups inside the Azure Active Directory. And when this is fully processed by the Microsoft infrastructure, the workload requested by the user is pushed and can be used by the user. It's completely silent for the user, but it has to be understood and to be understood by the IT and by the owners of the governance, because if you want to rule and if you want to govern Microsoft Teams, you have to rule and you have to govern the Microsoft 365 groups. And one other important aspect of Microsoft 365 groups is that it's owned by default. Today, Microsoft Teams is here since almost 4 years. So a lot of organizations have blocked sometimes the Microsoft 365 groups for user, because too many people don't understand the groups. They forgot that if you create a Teams, you have some workloads. But if you create an Outlook groups, you have other kind of workloads. This is not the same, but in the backend, this is the same. It stays a Microsoft 365 groups. And one other thing very important is that it's free for all, and it can lead to a completely chaos and uncontrolled growth of Microsoft Teams. This is the first steps why organization needs to control and to govern Microsoft Teams. So the needs are to prevent the chaos, to have an LCIT foundation, meaning that we need to have correct naming convention, correct URL formatting for the SharePoint workspace behind the Teams associated groups. We also want to have business template, and it's very important, the keyword business, because it's not just template for IT, it's template for business. And we want to automate everything, because governance, for me, it's about automating. We want to spend the less time possible doing automation manually. We want to automate everything, and the Power Platform will be the solution for us. So out of the box, we have a lot of features, but some of them require Azure Active Directory Premium P1 license. So it can also be another blocker for organization to leverage the full capabilities of Teams governance. And when we talk about Teams governance, of course, we talk about groups template, guest access control, groups classification, access review, etc., etc. But all those features are not available for free inside Azure Active Directory. So one of the point of view we can have is that Microsoft Teams has to be the tool to rule them all, meaning that it can be the tool from an end user perspective, but it can also be the tool from an admin and from a governance owner perspective. So how do we govern Microsoft Teams Workspace? First of all, we have to implement the identity and the naming convention. It's the first thing every organization needs to have a correct and proper catalog of workspace. Afterward, they are looking about notification, onboarding, and the business governance, the business configuration, the business template, etc. One thing which is very important to look at is that every aspect of those configuration are about the experience we want to implement. For me, Microsoft Teams governance is more about implementing an experience rather than implementing just settings and IT configuration, because all those aspects can be done by PowerShell or by automation, but we don't have to forget the end user experience, because if the end user don't understand, don't like the solution, it will be hard for him to adopt. It will lead to some adoption, to less adoption. So it's very important to understand that. And as I mentioned previously, the end-to-end automation, it's very important to automate everything. And with the Power Platform, I will show you in the next slide and in the demo, we have the capability to automate everything from the creation to the configuration and also the life cycle, because when we talk about governance, we are talking also about the life cycle of the workspace and the reporting. There is no governance without reporting. It's very important. Too many people forget about the reporting. They're focusing on the creation and on the configuration. But if you implement a solution, you need to look at how your solution is being used, how your solution is working. Maybe it's not working in some case. Maybe there is some bugs, or maybe there is some behavior or bad usage by the user. It's very important to have a report showing you all the data about the solution. So the reporting, as I mentioned just previously, is very important. Out of the box, you have access to a lot of features, but we're gonna see together just after how we can leverage the Power Platform to build some custom report and to collect some custom data to have custom KPI. This slide, it's a mind map I worked since months, and I try to keep it up to date. You can find it on my blog, on my social media account. don't hesitate to take it, to use it, to modify it, and to share it. And also to contact me if you have some idea or if you are not agree with some branches, because it's just here to show you that when you want to go very deep dive inside the Microsoft Teams governance, there is a lot of aspects to look at. And Microsoft Teams governance, it's not just about saying, yes, we have enabled or disabled the Microsoft 365 groups creation inside the tenant. So how we can implement a governance in 3 easy steps. First, we're gonna configure and define the control. For the control, we have 2 or 3 possibilities. We have the self-service, or also known as the out-of-the-box self-service, meaning that one can create teams of any kind without any restriction and, of course, without any control. We have the approbation mode, meaning that every request needs to be approved by some user or some group of users. But with the Power Platform, and especially with the Power Automate and the approval process capabilities inside Power Automate, we have the possibility to leverage both kind of self-service and approbation mode together. We can define some template which will be available for free and in self-service mode. And we can have some other templates which will have to go through an approbation process. Both aspects of this provisioning capabilities have different impact in the governance. When you are on self-service out-of-the-box mode, this mode has a big impact on your governance. You have to look at very closely about what is created, when it's created, how is it created. But when you are in approbation mode, of course, the impact on the governance is more impactful. After you have defined the control, you will look at the modeling. The modeling is more about how am I translating my business needs inside templates. How, if, for example, if I'm a lawyer company, it will not be the IT who will define my business. The lawyer and the lawyer business will define what the lawyer will need inside their template. So it's very important to understand that this part of the governance has to be done with the business and not with the IT. Even if this is the IT who is providing the solution, the technical solution, every aspect of what do I want for the template, how the template is designed, how the experience we want for the template is designed, it has to be done with the business. And it has to fit the security and the compliance and the organization need. Of course, we are talking about Teams, but Teams, this is also SharePoint, because for every team, we have a SharePoint site. And with SharePoint, we have the capability to leverage a very modern site feature. And to do that, we can leverage the Power Platform, but it will also call some SPFX or some PNP reference to be able to fully customize the SharePoint experience. And last but not least, the analyze and the evolution. As I mentioned previously, the reporting is very important. We have access to a lot of data out of the box pushed by Microsoft, such as the Teams Admin Center or the Microsoft 365 Power BI dashboard. But there is some data, but too often the data is not contextualized to the organization. And also we don't have access to the data for the lifetime. There is a delay in the history. And if we want to build some custom dashboard using custom KPI, looking more deeply at the Microsoft Teams governance information, we have to build our own dashboard. And to do that, the Power Platform can be helpful because we will be able to collect more custom data and collect metadata associated to the governance. We will ask the user to provide us some information about the team's workspace, what do they need them, what is the context of the use for this workspace, the classification of the data, etc. And we will modelize all those data inside a custom dashboard where we can keep the data for lifetime. So I propose you to go to the demo because if you want to implement the very good governance for your business, and for me, the business is very important inside when we are talking about governance. It's not just about another IT tool. And if you want to control the full life cycle, I will show you in the demo how it can be done. So I will switch to my demo. So if I take the end user point of view, I'm using Teams because this is my new best friend. I don't even open Outlook. I know there is a debate, but I'm using Teams every day. This is the first tool I open when I start my computer. And because the IT is kind with me, they set up for me an application in the left navigation of the Teams, where I can find my corporate website. I can also find my team or my department website. I can also find all the stuff I need to learn and to adopt the Microsoft 365 workload. For example, I can also, by the way, have the return to workplace application provided by Microsoft due to the COVID-19 crisis. And of course, I'm able to use the governance collaboration solution the IT pushed to me to use to create teams and to find teams. So first of all, I discovering this solution. So I have access to a starting kit, pushing me some information to keeping me up to date about Teams. So for example, here, this is the RSS feed from Microsoft Teams. So I do not need to follow any other kind of information because directly in this application, I can find all the last update about Microsoft Teams. I can also have some insight about the application, and I can be redirected to some useful information internally or externally. Of course, I have access to the hub. The hub, what is it? This is the catalog, the directory of all the workspace provided through the solution. So here I can access the catalog. I can filter the catalog with some refiner, and I can jump directly to some teams where I'm member of, or I can maybe request to join some of them. And the most important part of the solution is how can I request a new team? Because my IT department has prevented me to use the classic out-of-the-box create a team. So instead of going outside Teams, switching context, and using an external tools, I'm using the Power Apps because this is a Power Apps embedded inside Teams, and I will use the form inside this application. So I will select which kind of workspace I need, because if you remember, I show you the slide about the Microsoft 365 groups. Microsoft 365 groups is the technical foundation for Teams, for SharePoint, for Yammer. So if you prevent user to create groups, you prevent user not just to create Teams, but also to create SharePoint, to create Yammer. So you have to provide them a workaround when they need to create a Yammer, a SharePoint, or a Teams. So here the user can select if he wants to do some engagement, he will start a community. If you want to do some communication, he creates a site. And if you want, in our case, collaborate and have a productivity solution, it will create a team. So here, what is it? This is the business catalog, the IT created using all the business needs for the user. So here I can see all kinds of templates available for free for me inside my organization and 100% contextualized to my business. So if I take this template, for example, the standard project, I can see all the information related to this template. I can see the description of this template. I can see the application inside the template. Maybe there is some channels. I can see all the aspects of the template. There is a planner template. There is no private channel. This template is not does not need an approbation. It's in self-service, etc., etc. So I will select this template, and I will be able to add a name. So, for example, demo for Teams Fest, and I can also add some cool emoji. And as you can see, the emoji is not permitted inside the naming convention. So the naming convention is properly adjusted. And there is also some automatic prefix naming convention set up for this request, because I'm using a template project. And there is another prefix I used because this is my short name. And I have the capabilities to add some data governance classification. I can define if this teams and if this data inside the teams is internal, external, or even confidential. If you select confidential, you can create some rules inside Power Apps to say that if you select confidential, the visibility, of course, is not permitted to select public. It's fixed private, and the description is not also possible to modify the description, because if you say that your team is going to be confidential, you maybe want to protect also the description information, because sometimes there is some relevant information inside the description of groups. So I will select internal. I will say my visibility stay private. And when you talk about Microsoft Teams governance, you are talking about how you can implement rules your organization and your IT needs for the Microsoft 365 groups creation. And for example, here, the create button is disabled because there is some rules who are not properly checked before. The first one is that we want the user to add at least 2 owners. It's a best practice inside Teams to have at least 2 owners inside all the teams, because if I leave the organization or if I'm out of office in vacation, the teams will be without any owners. We will need to ask the IT and to spend time and to waste time. And this can be avoided by just adding at least 2 owners. So I will use Adele because we all know Adele. And again, the create button is still blocked because we want the user to add a description. It will be helpful afterwards inside the catalog, because if you remember, when I show you the workspace catalog, I'm also using the description information inside the catalog. So, and I will set up the expiration lifecycle. What is the expiration lifecycle? When you are talking about and when you want to implement Microsoft Teams governance and collaboration governance in a more large way, you are thinking about the lifecycle of the workspace. For some use case, a workspace can be created after it will be used, and after it will not be relevant to keep it. But maybe you will want it to be renewed, or maybe you want it to be archived or deleted or saved in some other place. So you can define a delay before the workspace will go through the renewal process. And I will show you just after in the demo. So I will select 7 days because we are on my demo environment. If I go in advanced option, I can see all the previous information I had inside the template catalog. I can also define if my workspace can invite some guests or not. And I can also add directly from here all the members, because it will save me some time and I will not need to go through the Teams configuration. I can set up everything here and I can be good, take my coffee and go back just 2 minutes after, and all will be automatically done for me. So I will send the creation. So the request is successfully sent, and I have the ability to jump to Teams, or the application automatically reset the forms and go back to the home page. So what happened inside Teams? Inside Teams, the Teams request is being processed by a workflow, because the Teams request is being stored inside a SharePoint list. The workflow is being triggered by this SharePoint list, and it will be processed. And I will explain you this just after. In the meantime, and because it takes for at least 2 or 3 minutes to provision, I will show you what it's about a Teams fully provision, and you will see the notification going through. So, and it's going a little bit fast, because as you can see, the Teams is here and is being provisioned. So what is a team fully provisioned by this kind of solution? First of all, you create the team, you add the member. Sorry, it's in French, but it's a team is created and the member has been added. After the member are added and the tabs are being added also. As you can see, all the tabs are being created. I also remove the wiki, because the wiki is not very helpful inside Teams. It can be done or not. The very good thing about using Power Platform to do this kind of solution is that the Power Platform is more flexible than any other solution you can find or you can use, because you can define every aspect of the configuration, every aspect of the settings. You can define and you can customize it in your own environment. And also, one other very important part between all other kind of solution is that with the Power Platform, you have everything running inside your environment, and there is no data flow going outside your environment. So from a security and compliance perspective, it can be very helpful to use the Power Platform to govern your Microsoft 365 teams, and by extension, your Microsoft 365 groups. So the Teams is being provisioned, the tabs are being added. As you can see, there is a Planner tab, also a OneNote, and some file automatically added. Because this is a demo, I show you every kind of aspect of tab, but you can also imagine that you can add some third-party application based on a business template, business use case. If you, for example, use a Klaxoon for your meeting, you can add the Klaxoon tab directly inside the team, and it will be automatically added by the process. You can also add some external, some other SharePoint library, not just the Teams library. So for example, here, this is a SharePoint library inside my environment I used for the to store some data, but this is not the SharePoint library associated to this team. So it can be helpful if you are using a SharePoint library to share information at the organization level. And you can also add some external website to share it and to add it inside your template. So if I go, and last but not least, you can also have some files automatically added inside the template and copied by the process and by the workflow. And if I go through the teams, so it's still being processed. You see the wiki tab has been removed. The classification internal has been set up for this team. The channel are already being created, and it's adding the member, and it's now adding the tabs. If I go to the information panel, I can see that all the all the member has been added, and it's now working on the tab. So in the meantime, I will show you all the kind of the life cycle and how we can automate the life cycle. So we are using a workflow automatically running every day to collect some metadata and some real data, because when you are looking about life cycle, you have to keep in mind that when you create a team, for example, in January, the team and the owners could be different in June and will for sure different in December. So if you remember, I store the request inside a SharePoint list, but if I store the requester and the owners at the creation, I have to make a check to collect the real and the proper owners when I want to check and to go through the lifecycle process. So keep this in mind if you are building this kind of solution. So here I run previously the lifecycle process. And what does the lifecycle workflow? The lifecycle workflow is a workflow who go through all the catalog, check the status of the team's workspace, and look at if your workspace need to be renewed. And if it needs to be renewed, it will create an approval, and it will send this approval as an adaptive card directly to the user using the Flowbot message directly through the user to ask him, hey, your Teams, this one is going to be expire soon. So what do you want to do? You want to renew it? You want to archive it? You want to delete it? Tell me what do you want to do, and I will automate the job for you. So instead of jumping inside Teams settings panel or Teams archive list, or going through an external process, we can completely automate this kind of lifecycle process by interacting directly with the owners. And if the owners don't answer in time, we also are able to send notification directly inside the teams to tell to all the users, including the owners, hey, pay attention because this team is gonna be expire soon. And you can also imagine some extended scenario where if nobody answer, no owner, no member answer to the lifecycle process, you can automatically archive or automatically transfer the request, the renewal request, or automatically delete the team. And it has to be kept in mind because Microsoft is providing a lot of very good features, but one size does not fit all. And this is very important because by default, the expiration of groups is based on delete if you don't answer to the expiration provided by Microsoft. There is also the automatically renewed capabilities, but it's more complicated. And if you want to have a very selective lifecycle process, you need to build it by your own. So here, for example, I will say this team is no longer needed. So this team is no longer needed. Bye-bye. So I will send the request. And if I go to my Teams, because it will go very quick, I can see my Teams first demo who is here. And I have the information, and you see it's very, very fast. It says my Teams will be automatically archived based on the lifecycle expiration policy. All my content stay available. And the process has set up my Teams to be archived. So my Teams is still available, but it's no longer wasting some space inside my left panel, and it will go through the archive list. If I go back to the Teams demo Teams Fest, you see that the Teams has been completely created. So if I look at the timing, 29:33, so it took almost 5 minutes to be fully provisioned. So it's not so long if we compare this to all the process organization can have when we have to fill a form inside a SharePoint, send an email to the IT, get the approval by the manager, and send again the email to the IT to be able to have the workspace provision. It can be very helpful. And if you create a team, you can also create a team using an approval process, meaning that everyone does not have the right, for example, to create a department team. Only the manager could create this kind of teams. So when a user creates a team where the approval is needed, the approval is being sent by email, but it can also be sent by Teams, because Teams has the full capabilities to handle the approval process, as I showed you with the lifecycle process. And inside this approval, I am able to say yes or no, or redirect. So for example, I will say, it's a good idea. Creation. And the process will automatically create this team for me, as I will no need to care about anything. Everything will be completely automated by the workflow. So I will see that you can see the teams has been created. And you can see the difference between the naming convention created at start, meaning that the SharePoint URL and the group's email address is being properly set up. And after every kind of aspect of the creation is being done, the display name with the emoji, for example, is being set up inside Teams. You can also, if you want, some advanced naming convention being visible inside Teams, you can have the naming convention visible inside the display name. The very good thing, again, about the Power Platform is that when you build some solution like this one, you are using a lot of out-of-the-box feature of the Power Platform, but all those features are completely flexible. You can customize it at your own needs and at the organization needs. So I will go back to the slide to share you some feedback. So for people who want or who are building this kind of solution, my feedback about this kind of solution are this one. Don't forget the user voice. Don't forget that a user and user feedback are the key to nurture and to grow your template catalog. Because at start, you will often talk to the IT guy, and the IT guy just wants one thing. And because I'm an IT guy, I know what do they want. They just want to control the team, to not have a mess inside Azure Active Directory. But the business don't care about what's inside the Azure Active Directory. The business needs solution for their business needs. And the business use case is not the same as the IT needs. So you have to build an experience and to be sure that the user have the capabilities directly inside the solution to share feedback very fast and very quick. Those feedbacks can be collected and analyzed by the solution owner. Also, when you build this kind of solution, I show you a lot of feature. It took me time to build it. So don't go too deep and start with an MVP approach, meaning that start small. Just start, for example, with the creation, automate the creation. And there is a lot of new feature. Reza Dorani and Théophile Chinin showed you a lot of them. Out of the box, inside Power Automate, there is some action you can leverage to create and to automate the Teams creation, the channel creation, the tabs creation, etc. And one last thing very important, Microsoft Graph is the key to everything inside when you are talking about Microsoft Teams governance, because Microsoft Graph is like the giant API connecting and interacting with all the workload inside Microsoft 365. So don't hesitate to go through the Microsoft Graph demo, Microsoft Graph documentation, because there is a very good one, the Microsoft Graph reference, and also don't hesitate to look at the Microsoft Graph 360 days of Microsoft Graph. It's a journey and shared inside the Microsoft Graph blog, who can help you to jump in and to start using Microsoft Graph. And as I mentioned previously, monitoring is very important. You cannot implement a solution like this if you have not the tools to look at what is going on inside your solution, how your solution is being used, which kind of templates are being used, which kind of templates are being not used. Maybe there is some feedback inside the user voice from your user telling you this template is not relevant anymore because it doesn't have the good settings. So you have to look at to be able to be very flexible and to answer to the business needs. The big picture of this solution, how does it work? From the experience and the user interface point of view, it's using Teams, but in reality, it's using Power Apps. You can also use the Power Virtual Agent. I show a very quick demo of Power Virtual Agent recently in Warsaw, and I will show other sessions in the coming months about Microsoft Teams governance directly through the Power Virtual Agent, because this is a new kind of experience. But from the user, it's Teams. Everything has to stay in Teams, because if the user stay in Teams and don't switch context, is saving time. If he's saving time, is going to be happy. From the backend, you can use the SharePoint list or Microsoft list, and you can also use the Common Data Service as a database to store all the requests and all the metadata associated to this kind of solution. From the automation and also the provisioning part, everything is done by Power Automate. You can extend it to improve security or improve extensions such as the SharePoint theme, SharePoint design, by using Azure Function or Azure Key Vault or even Azure Logic Apps, if there is some limitation for you in your use case inside Power Automate. And this is a part I add in this slide, because for me it's very important. Even if it's totally handled by Microsoft infrastructure, all the process is being done through Microsoft Graph. So it's very important to understand how Microsoft Graph works, how we authenticate to Microsoft Graph, how we can leverage some token or some application permission in Microsoft Graph to be able to interact with Teams, with channel, with file, etc. And the very special thing about this solution is that it's using the out-of-the-box free model of Power Platform for Power Apps Canvas, meaning that all the user can use the Power Apps application without needing any premium license or advanced license for Power Apps. And from the Power Automate perspective, you just need one service account who will handle all the automation for your organization. You don't need all the users to have a license premium. So it will only cost you one license to run this kind of solution, one license for your organization. And I just show you three very short screenshots about the approval running also inside the mobile experience, because in your mobile smartphone or tablet, you can add the Power Automate application, also known as Flow, and you will be able to interact with the approval request directly through your smartphone or even through your smartwatch if you have one. So I thank you for your time, and I don't know if I have enough. Yes, I think I have enough time to answer some questions. And don't hesitate to reach me if you want to go deeper on Teams governance aspect, because it's one of my favorite things inside Microsoft 365. And don't hesitate to open mic or to share your question, and I will be glad to answer it.
We do have some questions and we're a little bit short on time, so we will shoot through these quite quickly. First of all, Dave asks where we can find the governance mind map that you shared at the beginning of the presentation, because he likes.
You can find it on my blog, but you know what? I will share it in 5 or 10 minutes in LinkedIn. So you will be able to find it in LinkedIn in 10 minutes. It will be more easier for you, I think, to find it.
Okay, next question. How to block end user to be able to create teams without blocking office groups in Yammer, SharePoint, Power BI, etc.
How to block? Can you repeat just a little bit the question?
It's how to block end user be able to create a Teams. So how can we stop them creating a team without blocking the Office 365 group in Yammer?
At my knowledge, you cannot, because if you prevent user to create teams, you prevent user to create groups, and by meaning that you prevent user to create Yammer and SharePoint. But for me, it's more about you can build this kind of solution, and you can remove the teams part. For example, you can let the user create SharePoint, Yammer through the solution, but the user will not have the capabilities to create teams. It's a special scenario, but you can do that.
In the solution, are you supporting Teams templates as well?
Oh, so I assume you are talking about the new templates by Microsoft, and this solution is not based on Microsoft templates. Why? Because Microsoft templates are very cool, but as I said, one size does not fit all. Microsoft template is here to, it's good for a start, but it will be too short in how I can say that there will be too they will not have all the capabilities you can add through the Power Platform. So I prefer to handle myself all the kind of template catalog, to customize it and to add all the settings I want to add. Because Microsoft is providing new templates. This is very good for organizations who are not still using a solution to govern teams, but for some advanced governance needs, the templates will not fit, and you will need to have more capabilities and more settings.
Okay. So the Graph API client secret and API key, where are you storing, and what is the recommended place to keep them?
So when you start building this kind of solution, you are not looking at the security, because you just want your workflow to run and not to be failed inside Power Automate. So your first try will be to store all this kind of secret and some credential directly inside your flow. But this is not best practice. You need, and it's very good best practice, to leverage Azure Key Vault to store all the secrets and all the confidential data you could use inside this kind of solution. And by using the Microsoft Azure Key Vault, you will also be able to implement some security layer, because if you use Logic Apps and Azure Key Vault, the developer inside Azure Logic Apps does not need to know the credential. It just needs to know the secret Key Vault, not the secret himself. So you can have some example, one person who handles the secrets and one person who handles the Logic Apps or the flow. And it will add another layer of security.
Okay. Is it possible to show the Power Automate?
Yes, I can show the Power Automate. It's a very big one, so I don't think I have the time to show you every aspect of it. But for me, the Power Automate is this one. And if I show you, for example, this one, it's a very, very large one where I set up a lot of things, a lot of variables, and a lot of things. I think I have to do a session, especially on the flow, to be able to show you this correctly, because I show you it's a very big one with a lot of scopes and a lot of action inside the scopes. But I will think about adding a session on the Power Automate flow.
Perfect. Someone is asking if you can show your contact info. I tell you what, I'll put a link in to the feedback form in the chat, and you can go back to your contact info. Perfect. Okay. Oh, Theo put in a link to a blog post about using the Azure Key Vault. That's really helpful. Thank you for that.
Yes, you can look at it. It's a very good blog post.
And okay. Oh, so the person asking for your flows says that they're going to sync up with you offline. Perfect.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, and that comes to the end of the session. Thank you for that. That was a really full session. It doesn't surprise me that we're slightly later than normal, but that's absolutely fine. Thank you so much for presenting everything to us and showing us through everything you've got in that solution. It really was quite complex, but really worth going through. So thanks for coming and presenting. I'm sure everybody agrees that was an excellent session. If you could attendees, if you could go and fill in that feedback form, it does mean a great deal to the organisers of TeamFest, as well as to the presenters, to understand what you liked, what you loved, and what you'd like to see more of in the future. So if you'd like to see Hadrien again, it's really important to go back and fill in that feedback form and let us know how good that session was. So please do that. And Hadrien, thank you so much. I will just jump into the participants and see if Marco is in the room with us for the next session.
Many thank you to you, Sharon, and I wish you a good day, because I know it's a busy one for you.
It's been a long one, but we're getting there. Thank you so much.
And thank you to the attendee, and don't hesitate to reach me if you have other questions. Perfect. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.